There you go.
Hello, hi, welcome everybody, fellow sculptors, uh, passing buyers. Sorry for my English, it might be a little awkward. My second language, not my first one. First of all, I'd love to say thank you for letting me be a part of this society. I'm myself an emerging sculptor and recently joined NISA and already understand that it's a wonderful place to be, to have people with a like-minded and to be able to take part in some things that I wouldn't ever believe or even dream of be a part of. So I'm glad and happy to be honored to host this event that we're gonna have today. And I think I think we might start, but I'm not sure whether we have our all artists that applied. Do we, Michaela, have all of them?
I'm seeing most of them. Looking for Catherine Smith is the first on my list.
Yes, and I don't see her as well.
I don't see her, but we could circle back if we need.
Okay. So I guess I'll name the author and the piece, and then the author themselves will tell a couple of minutes about it. And when we are all done, there might be a section for questions after, if that work, if that works. Again, this is my first time to host anything like that. Don't judge me.
You're being judged. You're being judged.
Of course.
It's a friendly space.
Sure. So our first artist is Catherine Smith and her work War and Peace Chair. And I guess Michaela can now turn on the slideshow.
There we have it. If everyone's able to see.
You can see it.
All right.
This is this chair made of ash, cherry, and mahogany wood. And if Catherine is here, we would love to hear from her about this piece. But seems like she's not. So maybe we'll get back to her and we can switch to Neil Grant, Rising Anger, bronze piece, which is very emotional. And I guess Neil would speak much more about it than anyone else. Let's
Okay.
hear him.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for welcoming me to the group. It's great to be here. You guys seem to be much more active than the National Sculpture Society, so I'm very pleased I joined.
Thank you for joining.
So yeah, this piece is, I made this piece, gosh, back I think about 2018. I think I've tried very hard to remember why I made it. And I think I was angry about the depopulation of the bees. So this was a sort of response to the environmental degradation going on. Unfortunately, I think it's still as relevant today as it was back then. It's bronze. I made the original in earthenware clay. I'd made a mold. I did a few sort of plaster and resin versions of it, and the gallery said, hey, people like this, make it in bronze. So it's just coming to the end of its edition, this piece. It's cast from one mold to different depths. So the foundry literally just takes the big mold and casts to different depths to get that rising effect. Yeah, as it says, it runs to about 6 feet long, and then rises up to 20 odd inches. So it's me. It's the version that my children most often see, I think.
Oh God.
So, but yeah, it's been a good piece. Like I say, it's been popular. It's sold well, so it's coming to the end of its edition. And I got the last ones made over in art castings 2 weeks ago over in Colorado, and they shipped, and they've just arrived in these boxes a couple of days ago.
Quite extraordinary.
Just arrived in these boxes a couple of days ago.
Who's echoing?
Got a ring around going on. Somebody needs to mute.
There we go.
Sorry, was there a question there?
I had a couple. Where's your studio based?
Oh, so my studio is Marston's Mills and Cape Cod. So just sort of south of Boston. Yeah, I spend most of my sort of general background. I spend most of my time either teaching sculpture or making sculpture. So I do it as a full-time profession. I think in terms of sort of stylistically, I've moved a little bit away from people. I'm kind of more into animals nowadays, but personified animals. So I take all the sort of the emotion cues that I used in human sculpting and stick them on the animals so they kind of read sad, angry, or whatever people want to read them as. I also do a fair amount of, I guess, non-traditional sort of objects. So umbrellas, boots, satchels, those sort of things. The kind of Levine sort of a bit of that sort of vibe. Did I hear a question on a minute ago on it?
I think we can go to the question section after we are
Okay, sure.
done with everybody else. Michaela, we can see the file opened at top of the presentation.
Pardon me. All right.
Thank you, Neil. Our next artist is Michael Cochran. I hope I spell it correctly, with work named Sevilla. Gold leaf and acrylic paint on welded aluminum. And let's hear the author, if author is around. Michael, are you there? Seems like he's not.
Doesn't look like it. Right. And we can circle back if Michael joins us.
So, Victoria Guerina, Mary E. Jackson, a beautiful work made of resin. Is Victoria here?
I am. Can you hear me?
Sure. Nice to
Yes,
meet you.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be part of MISA and meeting all of you and seeing some really beautiful pieces of artwork. It's great. So this is a piece that I did. This is Mary E. Jackson. She lived from 1867 to 1923, and she lived in Providence, Rhode Island. She was a writer, speaker, and organizer who dedicated her life to civil rights and women's suffrage movement. And she wasn't welcome in the national suffrage organizations because of her race. So she was a leader in the Black women's rights and suffrage organizations. And I made this sculpture to be included in an exhibit that I curated commemorating the centennial of the 19th Amendment in 2020. And we had a lovely opening. It was a national exhibit. We had a great opening, and then COVID hit and the whole thing kind of shut down. So it was a little disappointing. But I created this piece working from historic photographs. I only had about 3 photographs to use because she's not very well known. And I cast this, worked in clay, cast it in resin at this point, and I may at some point get it into bronze. And I've been working on creating busts and figures of women who contribute a great deal to society, but get very little recognition. And some of the other women that I'm hoping to be working on are Matilda Jocelyn Gage, who was a prominent woman suffrage in the 1800s, Anna Murray Douglas, who was Frederick Douglass's first wife, and Bertha Higgins, another Rhode Island suffragist. And previously, I'd done some work at the Women's Rights National Historic Park in Seneca Falls, New York. We did a 20-figure installation in the visitor center there. I worked with a former professor of mine. And I also I work in paper, and I do reliefs and three-dimensional sculptures in paper as well, casting.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Very nice.
for the- I guess we can hear some other questions regarding your work a bit later. Now let's move to Sean Farley and his work Mercury Rising.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry.
I too am grateful to be a part of the New England Sculpture Association and to meet you all via Zoom. So I work primarily with foundry molds and found objects and put them together with, screwing and gluing, whatever, just so they have integrity. And then I paint them. Usually the theme comes once I start putting it together. It's rare that I have a theme and then go to find the objects to make that happen. So this was inspired much like, what Neil was talking about with the destruction of bees. It's dealing with climate change and how it continues to get worse, and it continues to get hotter, and we just keep soiling our nests, this planet that we have. And it's just very frustrating. And so I
We don't hear you, Sean.
What's
No, we
that?
don't. You muted yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. It just happened. And maybe it's trying to shut me up. That could be. But and I also try to put Easter eggs in my sculptures, so you don't see the rear view of this piece, but if you were to see behind it, there would be an image that looks like a ghost, and that's the ghost of humanity. That at some point, if we don't stop the the climate from disintegrating and the icebergs melting and the water levels rising, that this planet will just turn to dust, and our political leaders are just making it worse. Not to get political, but I'm just saying. Yeah, so that's it. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Let's hear John Mullen. Piece
Hi, and
Untitled.
I think
Hi.
is my audio on? It seems like it is. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a sculpture that I just created. I showed it in February at the Boston Sculptors and the Associate Show. And I wanted to create a piece that was about the noise surrounding us, this toxic noise and all, and I wanted to create pieces. So when I started sculpture, it's from reading, being in the world, being involved in the world, and I will, just so much that's going on right now. I wanted to do something that I just had this vision of creating these forms that what I do is I make them in clay. let me put on my timer so I make sure I don't speak too much time. All right. Okay. So I put them in clay and then I make rubber molds of them. And then I cast them in ultracal and which is a gypsum cement and work them in, use oil paint and, create these textures. And then I wanted to create the environment. So I wanted these to create these spheres that holes were being taken from them. And so they were kind of getting pulled apart with the environment and all. So breaking down. So they're kind of a species and they're, I guess they're emblematic of human condition. And I wanted to create something that was toxic. So I was looking into all these things, wall pieces, floor pieces. I start a piece and I let the piece, as I go along, I problem solve and figure out the best solution to the problem. So I finally decided to create the piece with ping pong balls. And I thought, oh, I'll buy 80 ping pong balls. They're very inexpensive and they're really actually fun to paint. But I ended up painting using 1,000 because I just kept on needing more and more ping pong balls. So that was a whole adventure. I wanted to have it create toxic, irritated. So I was thinking about oranges and I was thinking about the kind of a grayish tone orange. So I each ping pong ball I cut a hole into the bottom of it, put it on a wooden skewer, and painted it with tempera paint, not tempera, acrylic paint with a glazing, and did layers of the color to get a variety of grays. I mean, about oranges and all, and getting that, and then working with the colors. And then what I decided is to create a box that's 3 feet by 3 feet, and it's 28 inches. And there's a little bit of a pocket where I have all the balls, and then I have these pieces raised above. And so they're kind of just a little bit hovering over the surface. And Anyway, it was that's my piece. And I think you mentioned also how I became a sculptor. I think I was transferred to an art school and when I was about 22 and was thinking about illustration. I love drawing and I went to took a sculpture class and that changed everything. I think for me as a woman, being able to make something in my space, respond to it and to work with my hands, it was the most liberating thing. So I love sculptors and I love sculpture. I love having a problem to solve and just letting myself, as the piece goes along, I used find objects, I fabricate things. It gives sculptors, we have to think so creatively. And I think it's really fun. I mean, this piece drove me a little crazy because it took too long painting all of those pieces. But it's that's the piece. Anyway, I think
Thank you. Thank you very much.
yeah. Okay.
Our next artist is me.
Okay.
So this work is called Festival. It combines two words, feast and festival, and this seems like a place we are living now in the world. There are many feasts risen, but there is almost no consolidation in what they are opposing. It is kind of understandable what those feasts trying to stand against, but those voices and those fists are kind of not in one fist that could beat up all the shit that is going around and make us live in a better world. This is pretty much it, what I would love to say about it. I hope it speaks for itself. Thank you for attention and having me here. I think we can move to our next artist, Jill Jacobs, and her piece, Steps Repeat.
Hi,
Hello,
folks.
Jill.
How's it going? I've gotten to meet some of you before at the last Sculpt Slam, so this piece might look familiar to a few of you. It's kind of interesting sharing this piece without context of my other work because it is kind of singular, but very connected in that I always use steel rod, either 1/4 inch or steel or 3/8 inch ungalvanized cold rolled steel. This is the only piece that uses both gauges. But, using rod inevitably introduces a lot of negative space. So usually my work looks really different depending on what angle you're looking at it from. Um, but as I created a lot of very kind of like minimalistic, what I called vessels, I started getting curious of what happened if I like filled in or built density using the rods. So I have a few pieces where I started connecting the negative space with these like soft rolled curves that was very uniform throughout. And so this piece was kind of throwing all of that out the window and asking what happens when I fully build the density as dense as I can, and allow for repetition, allow for pattern, but also have a little bit of like randomness and spontaneity. So conceptually, this piece grew out of this idea of like the staircase to nowhere. Like a lot of artists, I think I'm pretty hard on myself and am really excited about all of the ideas that I want to bring to fruition. And especially working with steel, it's such like a slow process. This piece I think took me about 6 months. I've been working on a piece now for the last like 2 years, so sometimes it's really slow and there's so much that I want to see come to life, and it can be really frustrating just feeling like I'm not like growing or progressing as fast as I would like to. And so this was kind of an embodiment of that frustration. And so with that, I wanted the repeated shapes. And I initially started where these shapes came from were scraps from previous pieces of pieces that I had rolled or bent for experiment or for a piece that wasn't perfect enough to actually use in one of my vessels. And so I started there and kind of built off of that, which conceptually I really liked in retrospect that like the piece was about frustration and I was using my scraps, what I felt wasn't good enough to actually be in the work. Um, and so, yeah, all of I don't use a torch. All of my shapes are restricted by things that I can bend or roll with the manual tools that I have. And what was great about this was, I may never do a piece this dense again, but playing with so many different shapes has really informed the work I've done since this. This was like a year and a half ago, of like, I created some new shapes, like that kind of V shape one is rolled and then bent in the opposite direction. So I just got to kind of play with some new shape language through this. So um, it felt like really full circle because to like accomplish something like this where I was initially frustrated ended up being like a really joyful process. It was very fun to do. And the shapes that I created kind of remind me of like the childhood doodles that I did. So it kind of felt like I was kind of like tattooing my own history through all these shapes. So yeah, looking forward to connecting with more of you and seeing you in person at shows in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Our next artist is Linda McMillan, Curtains Multitudes piece made of stone. Let's hear Linda if she's around.
Yes, I am. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself and wasn't doing a good job of it. Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure in listening to everyone and just being able to talk sculpture with people that love it. So this piece, what I was trying to do, I tend to try to work with emotion and mood. And as I'm working, I don't go into it with a huge plan. I often will try different poses, or if I'm just doing a bust, I'll try different expressions to kind of capture what I'm trying to think about. But in the back of my mind was just the emotional tumultuous era we seem to be in just in general, and trying to pull that out. So that's where this started. I wanted as I went through it and looked at different poses and was trying different things with little maquettes, I found that I really was getting intrigued by negative space and how that speaks as much in a figure as the actual figure does. So that's where I was headed with this piece. The title I pulled along, I Contain Multitudes, because I wanted to pull in the feeling of that work, that were just such a mishmash of emotions and feelings and contradictory feelings at times. And I really wanted to pull that into how we internalize a lot of that and bring that into ourselves. How I came to sculpture, I used to do a lot of two-dimensional work. I took one sculpture class once and it just didn't excite me, and I never figured out why, because once I discovered it again through trying to carve wood, I loved it. I just loved it. It spoke to me more thinking in 3 dimensions than two-dimensional work did for myself. And then I discovered maybe about 7 years ago ceramic clay, which is what this piece is, and just kind of jumped on that and never looked back. And I'm just having a lot of fun with it. And I guess that's it. But thank you so much for allowing me to come in and join you all and do this. This has just been a true honor.
Thank you, Linda. Our next artist is Liang Yuan. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yes.
Hi, Liang. The piece is called PTSD, Fiber Art. And let's hear Liang.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm going to talk about this piece first, then talk a little bit about me. So this piece grew out of my clinical work and my own lived experience. More than 80% of my patients carry significant trauma history. I carry my own trauma as well. As a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, I spend days listening to what is spoken and to what cannot yet be said. The desire to conceptualize those emotional states leads me to material experimentations and eventually towards sculpture. PTSD is a complex condition. A small trigger can unleash multiple symptoms, especially intense, unbearable feelings can be difficult to articulate. So I use a layered flash tone fabric, symbolize human tissue, and also rawness and intense, unbearable feelings. The whole piece will look like a giant wound. The zipper in the center suggests that wound can close, but can never fully heal, always vulnerable to reopening. So between the teeth of the zipper, you can see a few embroidery leaves coming out. This symbolize resilience and possibility of renewal. The material of this piece traces the cycle of rupture, repair, return that is characterize PTSD. Then the material of this piece come from used tutu I find in the recycling center. A little bit about me, how I become a sculptor. So my path to sculptor began with Freud's topographic model, conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious. In many ways, that model itself is already a sculpture, layered, dimensional, many hidden space. So working with 3 dimension allow me to echo that structure. If I use Freud's concept to analyze this piece, I would say zipper represents consciousness. The embroidery leaves represent the pre-conscious. The flash tone fabric and what is hidden behind the zipper represent unconscious. And I also do painting, assemblage, and collage as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Leon. And our next and last artist is Harvey Greenberg with his piece Curtains, Stoneware, Metallic Oxidizing Paint, and Granite.
Yeah.
Hello,
Sorry,
Harvey.
Eugene.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to echo what so many have said about thank you for the honor of being selected here, being part of the organization. The word emerging really characterizes me. I'm emerging, even at this later age. This sculpture is emblematic of the kinds of things that I have been doing over the past few years. I started doing ceramics when I had a period of my life when I had nothing other than work, and I needed something else for my mind, and I started throwing pots and plates and bowls and pitchers. And over time, I realized that I wanted to do something a little different, and I began to hand build with stoneware. And the process of hand building quickly led me to realize that clay wants to resist what the sculptor wants it to do, particularly if one makes shapes that are less rigid. And so the challenge over the last few years for me has been to use clay to make objects which are either abstract or what some call architectonic, has some sense of foundational architecture. And what I enjoy is beating the clay. I enjoy winning over the clay and having it do what I want it to do. This piece is also a step in a new direction for me, which is to cold finish my work. The work is bisqued. The clay is bisqued, and then this piece, the slabs are painted with a paint which then has an oxidizing component to it, and then is mounted on stone, which is a new idea for me, to be able to merge natural stone with the clay. And so I think that's it. I don't have any social message for this. I'm really impressed by people who create something with a meaning that's much grander than just the physicality of the piece. This is just my attempt at make the clay do what I wanted to do in a pattern which looked intriguing to me. And there you have it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe we have Catherine joining us. Catherine Smith, are you here? No, she's not. Okay.
See your name like in the attendees.
Sorry, what?
I don't see any name in our attendees.
So let's get to the questions section and go with the same list, I guess. Does anybody have any questions to Neil Grant? Go on, John. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. We don't hear you, John.
I will. Okay. Okay, is that good?
Yes.
Okay. Are you using alginate? How do you make your? I've taught for a lot of years and did. So I was wondering how you're making the molds. And do you use smooth-on products? And what, I was just curious about your mold making.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, it's not a live cast. That's a sculpt.
Oh, live cast. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a live cast. That's a sculpt in earthenware clay. So I did that, and yeah, I used a Rebound 25 to do the original mold. So I threw the clay away at the end once I finished sculpting it.
Okay, I work with I haven't used Rebound, but I usually start with clay too and then work. But that no, I thought they were so. I just thought they were cast from an actual figure because they were so
No,
perfect. Yeah, they
no, I don't. I've tried. I wish I could. It would save me a lot of time, but you can't hold that thing in your neck for more
no.
than 10 seconds. So I don't think alginate. I wouldn't want to stick that much in my.
One thing about alginate that's great is you can have your mouth open. I know that, and so you can do things if you wanted to work with. But I can imagine you're right, you couldn't do that. But anyway, it's amazing. I assumed it was, but I think probably you get more expressive qualities by working directly with the figure and the materials as opposed to just copying. It's probably a better piece because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you could emphasize some, if you the sort of wrinkles around the eyes and the darkness and things, you can go in a bit deeper than reality to sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
get a bit more depth into it and
Yeah.
pop a few veins a bit more to
Yeah.
give a little bit more to it.
Thank you.
But thanks for the question.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question. Neil, how long did it take you to do that?
I think probably a couple of months. Um, just because I'm working in water-based clay, I can't keep it going forever. And I typically start with enthusiasm, get lost in the middle with despair, and sort of come up for air at the end. So yeah, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 months to do the piece, and then sort of a week of messing around with the mold making and that sort of thing.
Cool.
Thanks.
Any other questions to Neil? No. May I ask a question? So, Neil, you said that you shifted to more animalistic art. Could you please describe it a little? Why did you shift, and what are you looking for in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, so some of it was, I think some of it was just the sort of the variety in the animal kingdom interested me. Um, I do enjoy portraiture and I do enjoy figure work, but um, sometimes it's nice to sort of change it up after a few years. And I was looking, I've mainly begun to focus on sort of local artwork, local animals, so things that people don't normally see on Cape Cod. So my last sculpture was an angry eastern box turtle. Um, so I've started to move in that direction a bit more. What I've done or what I've brought across is the expression work. So some of the gesture work from figure, some of the expression work. If you expose the top of an eyeball on an animal that looks scared in the same way a human does, we read it as the same thing. So I've taken some of the expression work I learned for portraiture and applied it incorrectly to animals, but it just makes them more engaging for the viewer. So they don't look like a piece of taxidermy. They're sort of you can raise an eyebrow, you can do that sort of thing just to make it a bit more engaging. And I like to do that particularly for kids. So if I'm doing work and kids can sort of engage with it, I kind of that gives me pleasure.
Thank you. Michael Cochran didn't get to us as far as I see. So maybe let's hear some questions to Victoria Guerina.
I have a question. Am I not muted?
You're good.
Oh,
You're good.
We can hear you.
I think that the resin I think it's a beautiful piece, but I think the resin is really great and it's so much lighter. I mean, I think it says it's 3 pounds. But that's kind of, that's great. I mean, I think it looks like a bronze. I mean, I've never been able to afford casting pieces, so I've never been able to do that. But I think that some of these resins look like, how you created it. It really does feel like a bronze piece. with probably a lot, and the weight, and I think it's really a good decision. But
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, bronze is prohibitive.
yeah,
It's very,
yeah.
it's very expensive and it's very hard to move around. It's a
Yeah,
very heavy,
yeah, yes,
but
yeah.
it's such a beautiful medium.
Oh, yes, yeah.
If you can, you really want
Oh,
to do
yeah,
that. But the
yeah,
resin, I just added some colored powders to it to give it
yeah.
that brown quality, and it works fine. It doesn't quite have the same depth that bronze has, but it's certainly something that's easier to work with.
But because it's such a great piece, possibly you could get someone to, give you some money for a bronze piece.
Yeah, that's something I'm not really very good at
I'm not either. Yeah,
is selling and marketing and
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
to give me money. It's just not very good at it.
I'm
So
not good at it either.
hopefully
But
I
it's a
can
good
learn
idea.
something from all of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have a question. Your work is so like people and history specific, and it seems like the suffrage movement has kind of garnered your interest. How do you like pick your subjects? Does it inform your reading material or like, watching documentaries or going to museums? Like how do you do your research and how does what you do outside of the studio inform your work?
Actually, I'm in Salem right now, and I just went to the Edmonia Lewis exhibit. Unfortunately, today was the last day, but it's really just incredibly beautiful, really wonderful. Well, it started out as I was graduating from my master's program at Boston University. My professor there, Lloyd Lilly, had a commission at the Women's Rights National Historic Park to create this 20 figures of women's rights. Now, at the time, I was about 30 years old and I knew absolutely nothing about women's rights. So when I took on this project with him, I learned a tremendous amount about it, and it has really informed a lot of my artwork since then. And when the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment came up, I had some friends that were interested in putting together a show. So I prepared several pieces for that. And then I began to think that, so many women have done so much work on made so many sacrifices and nobody knows who they are. It would be a nice project to work and find women who have done a lot of work who weren't well known and create a series of work based on that.
That's really cool.
I have a question, if I may ask.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Hi, this is Jerry. I had worked at Tufts University, and we brought lecturers to talk about politics in a very particular way. And at one point, Kerry Kennedy Cuomo, then married to Andrew Cuomo, believe it or not, had done work when she was at Brown University about people who did powerful things without being known or famous. And she did a coffee table book as well as a series of lectures called Speak Truth to Power. And it must have been 20 people from all over the world who you wouldn't know about, but it was write-ups about them and what they did.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way of looking at it. I think of you and your work when I think about it. And if you ever wanted to broaden it, it's an interesting way for you in particular, if you wanted to think about women all over the world who have done powerful things, survived powerful things, but aren't necessarily known. It's just, you do wonderful work, and it might be a way of thinking about expanding.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Sean Farley, anybody has question for Sean?
I do. Can you explain the foundry mold medium? I don't really understand.
Yeah, not many people do. The foundry molds were part of the Industrial Revolution, basically from the 18th and 19th centuries, when they would make these molds out of mahogany wood. You'd have the negative space and the positive space. And sometimes the two negative spaces would fit together. You'd put the mold, the wood mold with the cutout negative space into sand, casting sand. And it's not the sand that we think of, but it has other chemical qualities to it. Once that form was created in the sand, you remove the wood and then you pour hot metal into the form, which would create something used for dams, for like the Hoover Dam. I had some pieces that were used for the Hoover Dam, for ships, for pipes on ships, for trains, um, votive candles, you name it. And some objects I couldn't even begin to figure out what they were used for. They're just so unusual. But I found that the foundry molds, and they're getting harder and harder to find. Um, but they just, people were throwing them out. When I was started using them about, 10 to 15 years ago, people were just dumping them in dumpsters, or I'd go to flea markets and find dealers, and then they were cleaning out warehouses that were throwing them out. So it was kind of a rescue mission to gather as many as I could. Um, and then, because I've always worked with found objects, started applying found objects to the molds to create these anthropomorphic beings. I've tried to just be abstract, but for some reason, there's always a personality that emerges, and there's usually a face involved, and breasts or other genitalia. So, yeah. And I can't help it. They just become these beings. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think the negative and positive spaces of these forms just really, really command, collaboration with found objects. And I'm always looking for them. And it's like a treasure hunt, really, to just go out and search for them. And I have contacts now all over the country who find them and then let me know. And I'm fortunate. I don't know if you've all been to Brimfield in Western Mass, but it's a huge, huge flea market, and a lot of those dealers converge there. So I find my contacts there, and that's where I find them.
We'll find them in Connecticut too, because Waterbury and Bridgeport were major brass casting during the war. And
Absolutely. Yes. And Pennsylvania and Ohio. Yeah,
I also look at them symbolically, like you, that they represented an entire economy of jobs, woodworkers, pattern makers,
exactly. And there's still
specifically.
some companies there's still some out there doing casting molds in this method, but not too many. Now that we have 3D printers and, easier ways to make product.
There are
So,
still some things, yeah, you can't cast faster than just sand molds.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, and Sean, I appreciate the joyful color though that you've added too. It's really quite wonderful. By the way, I think you should probably be warned that there's a member of the of NISA whose name is Sean Farrell, I think, a male. Anyway, so I glanced at your name and saw it anyway, and I thought, "Oh, Sean."
Oh, that's good to know. Well, there's plenty of Sean Farleys that are artists
Right.
too.
Anyway,
So you
so
gotta,
anyway,
yeah.
but so thank you. No, I like that. I
Thank
was struck
you.
by the color because I work in wood usually, and it's not often super colorful. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank
Well, and
you.
I use flat paint
I know there's
too.
paint out there, but
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to kind of reiterate what I can't remember who mentioned it about taking so long to do artwork. Jill, maybe it was Jill. And it can be frustrating. And sometimes it takes me like more than a month to create one piece. And so it's not like I'm pumping them out. So I feel your frustration, and, I'm just not, when there are open calls for shows, and it's like, "Ah, God, I have nothing. Or I've got to hurry up and create something to be ready. And I don't like to hurry. like to take my time with these. So
I think it's
yeah,
such a good reminder though, because like we live in such a fast-paced world and some of the work that we make with our hands just can't be done in the time frame that we anticipate. And it kind of is just a good reminder to slow down and that some good things just take time.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you on that.
Are you a full-time sculptor, or is it
Mhm.
your oh good?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, full time in that, as long as life doesn't get in the way, and it usually does. But yes, I try to at least get 30 hours a week in.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions for John Mullen? Is John still with us?
Oh, I'm
Yes.
here. Yeah.
Joan, were you looking down at the piece?
Yes, that's a really good question. So that was the consideration when I finally was thinking about using a wall, and then I was thinking about using it on the ground, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to place it. And so I decided that I wanted to be looking down at it. Um, Usually, if I was to apply to something, I would show them the overall piece and then a detail of it. But I think I want when people just if I only had one image, I wanted it to be just looking down at it. And so it's 28 inches high. I didn't want it too tall, but I also thought just for a lot of, like children, you want to make sure that the piece isn't too low. And so that was all those considerations and how wide it was and all of that. Yeah. So it's looking down at the piece. Yeah.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Yeah. And that piece took about 6 months working all the time.
And
It just,
you painted all those ping pong balls with brush?
yes, I did 2 layers and then when I finish painting them, so if I on a good day I would do 80, but it really was a really intense painting process and I mean I've taught color theory, I've taught paint, that mixing paint, but I'm not a colorist. I've never been a painter. So it was just the whole thing of creating all the different oranges, all that stuff was really fun and challenging, but I had to do a lot of trial and error. But the other thing that when I finished them all, each piece had a little hole in them, and that would, if I realized that was I had to fill the hole for each one of those pieces because if not, it would ruin the illusion of a sphere if there was a hole in each piece. So I had to find a material that would cover it. And my material that I go to all the time is called epoxy, APOXIE, and it's put out by Aves, AVES, but it's a great material for anyone. But it really I've used it for a lot of my work, but it's like a putty. You mix A and B, it's not toxic. I mean, you'd want to if you're using your gloves or using your hands, you'd want to wash your hands before it dried. But but it's a great material because I was able to use like a plaster like someone who does figurative sculpture, one of those metal spatulas, I'd use a small metal spatula and each one I was able to fill with this epoxy because that was a complicated thing too. And then I went back and I had to repaint them. So repaint those pieces areas. So it was crazy, but anyway, but it's good material.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. I thought it was exciting, but then again, we're all a bit of nerds, about this stuff, I think.
Some people knit, some people,
Yeah. Yeah.
play golf, God help
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
so.
It was fun painting them. You should buy some, they're fun to paint. Anyway,
Thank you.
welcome.
Any other questions to John?
Yeah, I had one, Joan. Why didn't you just dip the balls into the paint?
That's a good question. People were asking me about that. Or spray paint. I wanted, well, first of all, it just made I looked into that. I looked into spray painting, and it was really it really worked well to do the two layers with the glazing to create the depth. And I think the dip, I was looking into that, but it didn't seem like it was the right direction for those pieces. The quality of color and light and layering. I wanted the translucent layers to build up the oranges. And so it just didn't really work out. And and then you have it wet, and then you have areas that it just seemed like it was more complicated. And that had its own set of issues, I thought. But anyway, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone has any questions to Eugene Pintel?
So did you cast, is that you cast a hand, or did you sculpt it, or how did you do the hands?
No, I sculpted them. Everything I do, I sculpt, and I find it very engaging to work on each finger. And so now I'm working on a new piece, and there's literally a finger printer here with about 60 fingers getting ready for a new work. So they are all sculpted.
And how do you make the individual fists and then put them together, or is it one piece?
It is a one piece,
Oh,
and I started with the frame made of wire and foil,
oh,
and then I added arms and fingers and work
oh,
on details,
oh, cool. Interesting.
and then painted it also with brush, just
Yeah,
like you.
yeah, yeah.
Eugene, have you been working with polymer clay for a while?
Yes, I fell in love with this material, and I find it very, very cool to work with. The only limitation, I'd say, is the size of the oven where you should put your piece in to bake it. But some guys work with like fans, industrial fans. They put in hand and evaporate the plastic material from the clay, but I didn't try it yet, so maybe I will. But another limitation is I work at my apartment, and there's barely any space left to keep my sculptures, and that makes my wife a little mad.
It's much cleaner than ceramic clay, isn't it?
It is, it is, it is. It's very clean. It's not sticky. It's not messy. And I run sculpting class for kids and adults, and we also work with it. So it's perfect material in the sense of cleanness around it.
I was thinking about maybe trying it because I have limited space these days, and I thought if I could use it and it was workable, that it would be clean and easier. But I need to do some more research.
It is. It's very cool. I work with the brand Sculpey. You can buy it on Amazon. They Yeah, they have several types of firmness, from the beginners, which is pretty soft, to professional, that you maybe will work only with some tools. Because I love working with my fingers and then adding details, fine tuning it. But for some people, the professional works the best because it's already firm, and only tools can make it detailed, so to say.
Can you
Thank
say
you.
that again? Can you repeat again the material the company made?
Sculpey. Sculpey.
Okay. That's the name, the material?
Yes. The
Okay.
name of material is polymer clay, but the name of the brand is Sculpey.
Polymer clay. Okay. So
Thanks,
then
Jill.
once
Jill,
you put it,
Yeah, I put a link to it in the chat. My partner works
yeah.
with that material too. It's really good.
It's
So
very
do
easy
you
to
do
find.
I
you
assume
paint
I
afterwards?
Sorry?
Do you build? Do you sculpt it? Then you paint because it's black.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes,
Okay, got
yes. They have it in various colors as well, but
it. Okay.
I buy white. Usually it changes color after baking, so I paint them all with other colors, even if they're plain. And I also put some glazing on top of it to make sure it's more layered, so to say.
Thank you.
Eugene, how many sculptures do you have uh, at one time? Like, do you exhibit them anywhere, and do you have several? And how long does it take you to complete something like that? I mean, I just love it. I think it's just so apropos right now, and I'm just wondering, like, do you have many with you, or does it take a
Um,
while to create something like that?
So I started working with this material in 2024, and since that, it was like November, I guess. Since then, I've made around 50 pieces. Yeah, and the series I'm mostly engaged now, I call it Limbo, and it's all about different parts of the bodies, fractals or intervening one with the others. I have pieces that are like trees made of arms and hands. I didn't ever counted time on it. Some
Mhm.
pieces take few days, other might take much longer because I have frames made like 2 months ago and stopped for a little while. Then I jump on the other project. So I do my best to put as much as I can in it.
Mhm.
And when I don't feel like working with this particular piece, I jump on the other and then go back to the one that is waiting for me.
Hmm.
I happen to have a sample of these are actually Fimo. They're I've had these for about 10 years, I think, since I took a workshop and got inspired, and then it's in my built-in cabinets with lots of other potential projects. So I've never, but it's Fimo. It's basically the similar stuff, right? To
It is and it is not. I tried working with Fimo.
okay,
It's more. It's not as. I don't know. Maybe the one I tried working with was not as good as I would
right.
love it to
But it
be.
is a
But
polymer clay. I mean, it's in that
it
realm.
is. Yes. 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 It is. Baida, do you want to ask something? I don't hear you. Baida, we cannot hear you. No. No. Sorry.
Your
It
sound
seems
isn't
like your
working.
microphone doesn't work because you are not muted, but we don't hear you at all. No. No, it's not air dry clay. I use it, but very seldom because it's not as uh, it needs more space to work with. It needs to be thin enough to dry well, not to crack. So it's more like labor demanding, I'd say. And I just don't have enough place to work with it at this point. But I like to work with it as well, with the air dry clay, I mean. This was the question from Baida.
This is oven baked, right?
Yes, yes. Good. Thank you. Jill Jacobs. Any questions for Jill?
Hi, I'm Derek. I have a question. Jill, you mentioned, I think, that you don't use a torch. Is that so? The question
Yeah.
is, why not? But no, I mean, I asked because I too, I'm resistant sometimes to. Anyway, you don't use a torch. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've experimented with it in the past, and I think I was initially a little off put by it, just in terms of like having open flame like that. When I built my studio, it's in my garage that's attached to my
Right.
house, and I already have the gas cylinder in there for the welding, so it was kind of a safety thing, but ultimately, and part of it was like, if I'm going to build this myself, like how few tools can I have to be able
Yeah.
to make what I want to make. But
Mm.
the other factor of why I haven't since gotten one is I've realized that it really shapes my shape language. Like it really limits what I can make. So for me, it kind of takes away that, blank canvas syndrome,
Yeah.
of just kind of putting boundaries on what's possible. But
Yeah.
maybe one day, but not anytime soon.
Well, I personally find myself be reflexively hostile to any 3D printing stuff. But then
Hmm.
I think that's sort of stupid because it reminds me of the story I always told in other regards, maybe even here, when supposedly the tourists were watching a Native American young man, carving a totem pole on the Northwest coast using a chainsaw. And they sort of sniffed at him and said, I bet your grandfather wouldn't have used that. And he looked up and said he sure as hell would have if he'd had one. I
Yeah.
mean, what are we, stupid? And then I thought, what am I, stupid? My inefficiency? The possibility is to get more efficient. So anyway, it's just a thought.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I guess I feel like efficiency has guided a lot of the rest of my life in my
Right,
studio
right,
is
yeah,
that time where I can go slow. I feel like it's the only thing in my life that I really can just
right.
go completely at my own pace. And I think that's why I don't usually, take
Right.
commissions and stuff like that,
Right.
to just like let it be something that's really free for me.
Yeah. Because I've actually sometimes referred to my own work as inefficiency in the pursuit of the unnecessary. So,
I
and
like
yet,
it.
I believe it's all necessary.
It is, yeah.
Jill, can you say something about your expression shape language? I hadn't heard
Yeah.
that before. How do you hold that?
Yeah, I've been using that term a lot. Basically, like looking at the library of shapes that I have and like looking at each shape kind of like a letter in the alphabet. And then like this is the language that I can use. So does that
I see.
make
Huh,
sense?
huh. Yeah, no, now that you put that definition on it, I understand it better. Thanks.
Kind of like colors on a palette, right?
Yeah.
Any more questions to Jill?
Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Our next artist, Linda Macmillan. Is Linda with us? Yeah. Any questions to Linda? Is it a stone or
Stoneware. It's mid-fire stoneware. So it's a
oh,
ceramic clay.
okay.
Yeah. And it's just fired to bisque. I don't, when I do work like this, I often will do either no glaze or finish or a cold finish. But this one, so far, I've just kept it bisqueware. I like the color of it. We'll see in a month how I feel. But right now I'm happy with it as is. But I do also, I'm one of those people that looks at it in a month and says, I really need to do something to it. And I'll go back and tinker with it. So yeah.
Thank you.
Linda,
Piece is
is
ever
it
done.
is it a hollow figure or is it solid? Because it's pretty small.
It is. So it is slab. It was all slab.
Oh,
The
okay.
arms and the lower legs ended up, by the time I rolled the slab, they were solid. But the body, the head, and the thighs are all hollow. Yeah.
Bida asks whether it can survive other outdoor weather without glazing.
I would, you know what, as long as it, from my experiences, as long as it didn't go through freezes, it should be okay. I don't know. It's kind of small. I don't know if I guess it would be okay out in certain places outside, but yeah, as long as it doesn't go through freezes, I think it would be okay. It is a stoneware, so they're pretty hardy.
I guess no more questions to Linda.
Excellent.
Thank you, Linda, very much. Liang Wong, any questions to Liang?
Well, I've just an observation. Liang, you had me at the color. I mean, that is my favorite color in the world, right there. I mean, I call it paprika. It's, because it's evocative to me of red ochre, some of the earliest pigments that any of us, you know, whatever we are, used and stuff. So I just think and then as a moth, a layered moth with zipper together. I mean, there's a lot going on, and I really appreciate it. So, but you had me with the color. So,
Thank you very much.
actually, I reupholstered a pair of my mother's wing chairs in paprika, and just to test it, I took some paprika and shook it on the arm, and it disappears. So it's.
I also was gonna ask about the color. You had talked about a lot of like symbolism and psychology that went into the work. Was the color part of that equation?
Yeah, the color was look like a human tissue because it's a wound. Wound usually is layers. If you cut skin open, the layers. So that was the choice. I used that, and that I used the whole tutu. I just cut in 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 two pieces, then sew them together, hand stitch them together.
Cool.
And like Vida said, the tutu, you wear it, you perform. The zipper is what other people expect you to get better. And so
I thought it's a really strong piece, and I think you should think about, there's a lot of exhibitions that will deal with fabric or with clothing or costumes. I think it would be, you should try to, I don't know if you have tried to exhibit it, but I think there's probably a lot of opportunities for the type of work it is, in terms of dealing with a lot of different things, trauma, but also just the whole, the clothing as part of like a skin and all of that stuff, and the layering too. I think it's I've just you should look around to see what's out there, because I think that it would be wonderful to see. Have you done more work with the tutu? Have you worked with?
no, but I have done a lot of most my sculpture. I use fiber. I would say relief. I use crochet relief sculpture. So most of my work is about trauma.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love that. That's interesting. That I don't know. I'm totally new to the art world. I just started show my work last January. I would say a closet artist. So, and I appreciate more information, and those are interesting. I like to more show people my work.
Can I ask, does everybody have websites? Because I really want to go and look at everybody's work, after. Do people have their websites, and is it your names, or do we have a list of that, or how would we find out?
Yes, I think on the website should have my website, have my information on my website.
We have artist pages on the NISA
Yeah, I'll
website.
check now, because it's really would be fun to see everyone's work.
There's also a
And
forum.
also my Instagram, you can see.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not formally trained, but I I've done a lot of work. I would
Yeah.
say multidisciplinary. I do all kinds of work.
Yeah.
So more probably a lot of psychology and psychoanalysis is involved in my work.
Well, it shows. Yeah. It
Yeah.
shows.
Thank
By the way,
you.
speaking of this forum, which I lament again, as I always do, is underutilized by NISA members, I think, because I think these are such great opportunities. When those others, you might also be interested, which another great, what similar underutilized one is through the International Sculptors Center. You know, they publish a very sort of glossy, high-end magazine and stuff, but they do every, well, it depends in the season, but all they do so called, what do they call them? Sculpt slams. I forget that we took the name from that, or basically, but sometimes they alternate between people presenting their work, and there's always too few people there, I think, but although it's very interesting. And other times they call it Sculpt ER, which is talking shop. Just, how do you do this? And so on and so on. So
That's
that,
what we built the forum on the NISA webpage for, so you guys could continue the conversations about materials,
right,
questions you have.
right,
I
right.
encourage you to use it.
Yeah, yeah,
It gets better the more we use it.
right.
And
Because
there's
there are too few people here. I think this is a wonderful way to spend the Sunday, better than being at the gym, which I just left. So
there's
thank
a
you
link.
all, by the way, if I don't get another chance to say it, but this is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's a link in chat with where you can check for the websites of artists. And Bida wanted to ask about the color of the tutu. Was it this color? Was it red from the start, or you dyed?
No, I didn't change anything. I used almost the whole tutu, and accepted the piece, actually put them together. So I use everything, including those embroidery leaves. It's also come from the tutu.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Harvey Greenberg. Is Harvey still with us? Hey, Harvey. I guess you can unmute yourself.
I'm here.
And does anybody want to ask Harvey about his piece?
Is that piece fired? You said it was bisque.
It was bisqued and then cold finished with the paint, which then it oxidizes so that it looks when it's in your hand, it looks like rusted metal.
Okay.
People think it's iron.
Oh, it's a nice.
Is that a standard sort of? I hadn't heard of it before. I mean, I've other metallic paints that you can then, put a patina on them, theoretically at least. This is
a paint that is it's filled with iron filings.
Literally, okay.
And you paint it, and then there's an oxidizing material that you paint over the paint once it's on.
Right.
And then you can either let it continue to oxidize, or they have a preservative as well that you can put on. I discovered it, and I think I'm going to just keep using it. I love it.
Right. No, I'll look it up. Do you get it online? I mean, it's not just
it's
Home Depot item, right?
No, it's not a Home Depot item. You can get it paint specialty stores.
Right. Okay. Although, by the way, I just noticed I was going through stuff in my studio and I found old cans of stuff that I got from Home Depot long ago. One is called Spray Fleck or something, and it sprays on a surface that's pretty compellingly looks like stone when it's, stuff like that. So part of me, again, is loath to use that sort of thing. But anyway, they certainly are available. So it's good to know about new materials as well. Thanks.
I have a question. So I'm not real sure, but bisque fired is pretty fragile, right? Does the paint give it some structure?
The paint doesn't provide any structure that I'm conscious of. Bisque firing, depending upon the piece, can be very solid. But this piece, in its bisque form, if I were to stress any one of those curtains, it would probably break.
Okay. And why don't you just fire it?
Why don't I just fire it? I don't know. I just stopped at bisque and I painted it. I could have just fired it. I mean,
Are there any glazes that would mimic that paint?
not that I've seen that make it look like real rusted iron, because it is rusted iron. I mean, the surface is real iron that has oxidized.
Right.
Okay.
You can put this paint on any kind of material.
You can paint your bedroom wall with it.
Awesome.
Sculpt Nouveau
Thank you.
makes a couple of different paints that can be patinaed and oxidized as well. Some of them, there are single part ones, and then there are multi-part ones that are even stronger. But again, they have a high metallic content and they can be oxidized and even patinaed as if they were bronzes.
I can give you the name.
Here's a faux ancient, amphora that's got that kind of paint stuff from whatever it was called. You can get a little sample kit of iron, some different kinds of metals, brass, bronze, whatever, and then sprayed stuff on it. And again, it's in line somewhere. It doesn't take long to find. There you go, something like that. Yep.
This is if I can hold it in the right place.
Right.
Gotcha.
Metal effects. Who make M&M? You said Modern Masters.
That's what it is. Modern Masters metal effects paint. They have iron, they have a satin metallic finish, they have a copper that you can do the patina on.
It beats sanding, for
Everything beats
wood. I love wood, but really,
Oh.
This is very helpful.
I'm going to jump on. I have to leave soon, so I just wanted to thank everybody. Those of you that don't know me, I'm the president of NISA. I've really enjoyed this. Actually, before I joined NISA, I was really on the fence about online shows, but I'm really starting to see the value in the conversations that happen around them. So I'm actually really the work was phenomenal. Every time I'm really grateful from this show, reminding myself why I love this group so much. So thank you. I look forward to meeting, all of you in person at some point. We're working on that. Beta and I are working on a shindig so that we can get all of us together, because it's really the in-person stuff and the shop talk that's the most fun.
Right.
Again, use the website. It's as functional as we can make it, and try to connect with each other as much as possible. This has just been a blast, and I just wanted to thank you all again for doing it. And thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Beta, for setting it up. Thank you, David and Maris, for doing the time you did and put in curating, and just thank you all. I really, 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 really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. And
Be
thanks,
well
Beta.
and keep working. We'll see you soon.
I tried to sneak in a question earlier to Liang, but I discovered that my audio was off. So if I may, I'd like to ask you if has your artwork helped you address your own PTSD?
Oh, yes, yes. It is helpful to conceptualize. Once you put it out there, it's less overwhelming, like there was on my analyst as well. So, when you put your experience into words, so is make art. It's the same thing. Is you will feel less overwhelmed. And like Louis Bourgeois said, art is a guarantee of sanity. It is so true, because when you're making art, you don't feel anxious.
I was just going to mention her, because that's her work is all about problem solving and working with the she dealt with all her issues in her life through her sculpture.
Say again, who is it?
Louis Bourgeois.
I didn't get that last name.
It's Bourgeois, I think. Is that right, guys?
Louis Bourgeois. Yes.
Okay.
BOU.
Yeah. Bourgeois. Louise
It's
Bourgeois.
French.
Yeah, she's just incredible. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Bourgeois.
Yeah.
Here, I'm putting it in the chat too.
Yeah, thank you.
So seems like we are done for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for letting me. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Vaida. Thanks to all of you. See you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.